At 8:14 a.m., my phone lit up with a message that ended my childhood in one sentence. We changed all the locks on the front door and also the gate code. We no longer trust you. No argument, no explanation, just eviction by text from the woman who once called me her greatest blessing. I stared at the screen until my hands stopped shaking, then typed back, "Noted." That was clever. But you forgot one thing. Before I tell you what happened that morning, tell me, where are you listening from? So I know I'm not the only one who's been cut off by their own blood. I used to think love was measured in how much you gave, how many problems you solved before anyone had to ask. In my family, that kind of love kept the lights on, the mortgage paid, and the silence perfectly intact. My name's Taylor Robinette, 31 financial manager in Chicago, and for 4 years I'd been paying nearly $5,000 a month for a house I didn't even live in. Every bill, every repair, every temporary favor had my name on it. Mom said it was family teamwork. Dad called it doing the right thing. I called it survival. My mother, Elizabeth, was the kind of woman who could turn guilt into currency. Every sentence came wrapped in politeness but tagged with a price. "You know, honey, the roof still leaks. It's just hard watching your father try to fix it." Translation: send money. My sister Lindsay, 34, mastered helplessness like it was an Olympic sport. 2 kids, endless emergencies, and a tone that made refusal sound cruel. And my father, Robert, 62, the peacemaker who kept peace by keeping quiet. He never defended me, never stopped them. When I once found a strange credit inquiry under my name, he brushed it off. "System glitch," he'd said. I wanted to believe him. I told myself I was helping, that this was what good daughters did. I was 27 when I co-signed the mortgage, still naive enough to think love meant stepping in. Mom said family means trust, so I paid the mortgage. I paid the property taxes, the insurance, even the internet bill so Dad could stream sports. When Lindsay's car broke down, I covered the repairs for the kids' safety. When she overdrew her account, I wired the balance before she even had to ask. I kept spreadsheets to track every payments I labeled as temporary. That word used to make me feel safe, like I could stop any time. But temporary has a way of stretching when no one else lifts a finger. The house became theirs. The debt stayed mine. Still, I clung to the idea that effort could earn affection. Every time Mom said, "You're keeping this family afloat," I mistook it for love. Every time she thanked Lindsay publicly for sacrifice, I swallowed the sting. It wasn't until much later I realized that trust in our house never meant safety. It meant silence. Now sitting in that quiet apartment staring at her message, I finally understood what she'd really taught me. Family in her language wasn't about belonging. It was about who paid the bills. It started with a Facebook post. I was waiting in my car outside a grocery pickup when the algorithm served it to me like a slap, my parents and Lindsay standing on the front porch of the house I'd been paying for. The caption read, "So proud of our daughter for building a home we can all share." My mother held a little wooden sign that said, "Home Sweet Home, a gift from Lindsay." I must have reread the caption 5 times waiting for my name to appear somewhere. It didn't. The comments rolled in like confetti. "She's amazing. You raised such a strong daughter, Lindsay. You're the rock of the family." I sat perfectly still, one hand on the wheel, as if moving would break whatever illusion was keeping me upright. Somewhere between the emojis and praise, I realized they weren't just erasing me, they'd rewritten the story completely. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was a cheerful voice from the bank. "Hi, Ms. Robinette, just calling to confirm a request to update the primary contact for your mortgage." My stomach dropped. "To who, a Miss Lindsay Carson," she said. "The documents are still pending verification." I hung up without answering. The pen slipped from my fingers, leaving a line of ink across my palm. That night I checked my account and saw it immediately, $400 gone. A transfer to an old emergency card I'd once shared with Lindsay. I texted her, "Did you use my card again?" 10 minutes later, "Don't make it a thing, Tay. The kids needed shoes." Another ping. "Mom, honey. Lindsay's just going through a rough patch. Let's not start a war over a few dollars." A few dollars. I stared at those words until they blurred. It was never about money. It was about what it proved. When Lindsay needed help, it was urgent. When I needed fairness, it was inconvenient. That same night, my phone buzzed again, this time the family group chat. They'd renamed it Family Circle. Someone had sent a meme, a man handing over his wallet with the caption, "Big Sponsor Energy." My cousin tagged me. Dad replied, "Keep the donor happy." I left the chat. They added me back with balloons. I left again. That time, I blocked them all. The next weekend, I drove to the house to mow the lawn. Still paying the landscaper was pointless, Mom always said. The air was heavy with the smell of cut grass. When I stopped to get water, voices drifted through the open kitchen window. My mother's low and pleased, Lindsay's bright and smug. "Did you see her face when Aunt Karen asked about the deed?" Lindsay laughed. Mom's voice followed, soft but giddy. "It's almost done. Once the paperwork clears, there's nothing she can say. She's the one who put her name on the loan. Her problem now." Lindsay snorted. "She's always been a guest with a wallet." And then Mom's final blow. "She's not family anymore. She's just a sponsor." I didn't move. The water bottle slid from my hand, hit the grass, rolled toward the mower. I didn't even pick it up. My body felt hollow, like someone had scooped me out and left the shell standing. People think rage feels hot, but this wasn't heat. It was ice. Every word froze into something sharp and clean. In that moment, I stopped wanting to be part of them. I stopped wanting explanations or apologies. I only wanted truth and control. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't even pour a drink. I just sat at my desk, the light from my laptop spilling across a stack of unopened mail. Mortgage statements, repair invoices, receipts with my name in the corner. Every piece of paper was proof of the lie I'd been living. I opened my banking app first, then the spreadsheet I'd been keeping for years. Line by line, I traced the payments, mortgage taxes, roof repair, daycare, groceries. 4 years of what they called help added up to $211,724. The number didn't scare me anymore. It steadied me. At 11:46 p.m., I canceled every automatic transfer. The next payment was due on the 15th. Not this time. I typed one short message to my mother, noted. "That was clever. But you forgot one thing. No emoji, no signature. Just a full stop at the end of a 4-year sentence." Then I began my audit. I pulled up old texts, emails, photos, each one a receipt for their entitlement. I labeled folders, payments, bills, messages, audio. And when I replayed the voice memo I'd accidentally recorded through the open kitchen window, I renamed it Kitchen Truth. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. 3 days later, a thick white envelope slid under my apartment door. Inside, an invitation printed on gold paper, "Please join us in celebrating Elizabeth Carson's 60th birthday." Across the bottom, a quote shimmered in cursive, "A house is not a home without family." I laughed out loud. The sound startled even me. I pinned the invitation on my fridge right next to my spreadsheet printout. 2 shrines side by side, one to their fantasy, one to my reality. That week, I called my grandfather William. He was the only one who ever spoke to me without needing something in return. When he picked up, I didn't even say hello. "They called me a sponsor," I said. He exhaled slowly. "Then it's time they learn what happens when a sponsor stops sponsoring." He was right. I didn't need revenge dressed in rage. I needed precision. So I started preparing. I printed every payment record and organized them by month like case files. I downloaded the audio clip. I saved screenshots of the group chat, the memes, the laughter, my father's jokes. I even pulled the credit report showing the system glitch from last year. By the time I finished, my apartment looked like an evidence room. I didn't plan to confront them. Not yet. I wanted silence to do its work first, to let them wonder why the next mortgage payment never came. Because silence, I'd learned, makes people louder. When they finally reached out, it wouldn't be to apologize. It would be to panic. And that's when I'd remind them the only thing more expensive than betrayal is proof. The night of the party, Chicago air felt heavy, like the sky itself was holding its breath. I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose. The banquet hall glowed gold and green, the same colors my mother always chose, royalty tones, she used to call them. Waiters floated between tables with champagne flutes. Everyone smiled in that tight, performative way families do when they're pretending everything's fine. I stood by the entrance for a second watching. A slideshow played across a large screen, vacations, family photos, holidays. When an image of the house appeared, the crowd clapped. My mother's voice, sweet and proud, echoed through the speakers. Built with love, kept with trust, and now passed down with pride. Trust. The word hit like static. I walked toward the front heels clicking against the marble floor. No one stopped me. Maybe they didn't believe I'd show up. Maybe they forgot that I never missed a due date. Lindsay was on stage, microphone in hand, smiling for the cameras. "This home represents sacrifice and love," she said. "We've all worked so hard to keep it." I almost laughed. I wanted to applaud the performance. Instead, I waited until the applause died, then took 2 steps forward. The mic squealed as I spoke. I wasn't planning to say anything tonight. I began steady even. But since we're celebrating legacy, let's talk about what it actually cost. A few heads turned. My mother's smile faltered. "Taylor," she started, warning in her tone. "This isn't—" I raised a hand. "I'll be quick." I reached into my bag and held up a small USB drive. "Could someone help me play this?" my cousin. Curious, plugged it into the laptop connected to the projector. The screen flickered. At first there was only faint background noise. Then my mother's voice filled the speakers, clear, familiar, merciless. "She's not family anymore," she said. "She's just a sponsor." Gasps rippled through the room. Someone dropped a glass. The clink echoed. My father shifted in his chair. Lindsay went pale. I didn't look at them. I clicked the next file, a screenshot of the family chat blown up across the screen. The meme of a man handing over his wallet, the comments, "Big sponsor energy." My father's text followed beneath it, "Keep the donor happy." I turned to the crowd. "Here's what family legacy looks like in our house." Then came the final slide, my spreadsheet. Rows and rows of payments labeled and dated, mortgage, taxes, repairs, insurance. The total circled in red, $211,11, $724. "This," I said quietly, "is the cost of your legacy." Silence. Even the air felt still. My mother's face hardened, then cracked. "You're humiliating us," she whispered. I met her eyes. "No, I'm clarifying the math." My father pushed up from his chair, his voice sharp. "You don't come here and embarrass your mother on her birthday." "Embarrassment," I said calmly. "You mean like when you used my credit score to take out a loan last year?" His mouth opened, then shut. "I've got that paperwork too." Lindsay stood, voice trembling. "It was supposed to be family help. We all agreed I cut in. "Funny, I don't remember signing that agreement. I was too busy paying your bills." A murmur spread through the room, relatives' whispering eyes darting between screens and faces. My mother's hand shook as she reached for the mic. "Families support each other. That's what love is." I stepped closer. "No, Mom. Families thank each other. Love doesn't come with invoices." The room went completely quiet. The slideshow froze on the image of the house, its front porch bathed in warm light, the wooden Home Sweet Home sign swinging gently. I stared at it, realizing for the first time how small it looked compared to everything I'd given up for it. Then from the back of the room, a familiar voice broke the silence. "Enough." Heads turned. My grandfather, William Robinette, was standing by the doorway, cane in hand, eyes burning through the crowd. He moved slowly toward us, the sound of his cane tapping the floor louder than the murmurs around him. He stopped beside me, took the microphone, and faced my mother first. "You raised a thief," he said softly, the words cutting deeper than a shout. He turned to my father. "And a coward." Gasps again. My mother's lips trembled. "Dad, please." He raised a hand. "I've heard enough excuses." "Taylor," he said, turning to me, "I read your message. You were right to stand your ground." The crowd was silent, hanging on his every word. "Last week," he continued, "I changed the trust. Lindsay's name is gone. The property and the family accounts, they're yours now." Lindsay's jaw dropped. You can't do that." Grandpa didn't look at her. "Legacy isn't a birthright," he said. "It's behavior repeated. And you've repeated nothing but greed." The room erupted, half in whispers, half in stunned silence. My mother's face went pale, then red, then pale again. She looked like she wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I took the microphone back, my voice steady. "You changed the locks," I said, echoing her text. "But I changed the keys." I set the stack of invoices on the gift table beside the wrapped presents, turned toward the exit, and walked out. No one stopped me. Not a single person called my name. The doors closed behind me with a soft click, the kind that sounds more like freedom than an ending. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin. The city lights shimmered in the distance, reflected on the river like fragments of something finally broken and finally mine. I pulled my blazer tighter and exhaled. For the first time in years, I didn't owe anyone anything. 72 hours later, the notification arrived. Incoming wire transfer, 211's, $724. No sender name, no apology, just digits, clean, cold, and final. I stared at the number for a moment, then closed the laptop and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was earned. I brewed tea instead of coffee that morning. No alarms, no calls, no messages asking for a little help. For once, the world felt level. I replied to their lawyer with one line, "Transaction received." No further contact necessary. Then I deleted the thread. Later that week, I drove to my grandfather's house. He was on the porch, cup of tea in hand, waiting like he knew I'd come. "They paid," I said. He nodded. Of course they did. Guilt always pays late, but it pays. We sat in comfortable quiet for a while before he spoke again. "Forgiveness requires accountability, Taylor. They haven't earned it." I know I said, "Peace doesn't need their permission." He smiled faintly. "Now you sound like someone who finally understands the cost of freedom." When I left, the sun was low and warm, painting the porch in gold. I realized that peace doesn't announce itself, it just arrives quietly after the noise dies. They changed the locks. It was the first thing they'd done for me in years. They changed the locks. I changed my life. And for once, the silence between us didn't ache, it felt clean. I used to think family was something you earned by giving enough. Now I know real love doesn't invoice you. So if you've ever had to draw a line with people who share your blood, know this, you're not alone. Share your story below and hit subscribe. Because somewhere out there, another person is learning the same truth. I did peace isn't given, it's reclaimed.